That was better.
Okay, hey.
Solid.
That was it.
Close enough.
That's close enough for government work. Speaking of which, we are, welcome to GameBusters. That's a good segue because we're with the new administration, and we're actually being sponsored by the government now.
No way.
Ooh.
Yeah, we have our first gamer president, actually, so...
That's a good point.
I didn't notice.
I've been seeing a lot of memes about how, like, Biden is, like, our first gamer president. I don't know if there's, like, maybe has he, like, talked about, like, Animal Crossing once or something? Is that why people are doing that?
They did a thing where they made an island in Animal Crossing during the election campaign. I remember that.
I think
there was, like, a Joe Biden-themed island that was made by his campaign.
I'm sure he had a huge hand in making that.
Yeah.
I am sure that the Switch Lite was put into his palms for at least 30 seconds. So
I'm typing in "is Joe Biden a gamer" into Google. Hold on.
This is a great way to start the podcast.
it is.
Joe Biden calls video game maker a little creep.
Wait, who is video game maker?
Just the maker of all video games.
Under the
Video game
Obama
himself.
administration, okay, Biden says, at one point, one of the little creeps sitting around that table who was close to a billionaire, told me he was an artist because he was able to come up with games that teach you how to kill people. When asked if he's referring to video games, he affirms before returning to his criticism of various Silicon Valley leaders. Okay, can we all just agree that was Neil Druckmann?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised.
Oh my god, can we get Biden to meet David Cage? Maybe he'll change his mind then.
Press R2
No.
to kill your wife. Press L2 to save her.
David Cage shows up, pulls out that binder of pictures of Ellen Page he had when he was making Beyond.
Oh,
Jesus.
fuck. Oh, no.
Have you guys not seen that?
I tried
No.
What is that thing? He had like a folder full of pictures of Ellen Page, and I think this was before she was cast in the game, maybe? That he made that?
Yeah,
So-
I try and erase my memory of knowing that David Cage did that and the fact that everyone just moved on and accepted it.
I tried to erase my memory of games David Cage has made, because I think they're all terrible.
That's a good
Is
idea.
this sort of is this podcast, are we sort of veering away from the Todd Howard into sort of
We
the slam
are.
of David Cage?
I
moved
will
on.
I like to take every opportunity to say David Cage does not make good video games, and people need to stop acting like that's not true.
We all need to move on. This is GameBusters, I think. This is a podcast from GameLuster.com. And every week we get together and we talk about how bad David Cage is at making video games while we reminisce about the history and development of another game that everyone loves. So
Can I start a podcast? It's just me talking shit about David Cage and his games.
I
That'd
guess
be a
I'll
thing.
allow it.
what would you call that? Cagematch is the name of the podcast.
Maybe.
Did you just have that ready?
Yeah, I do improv, so
Oh yeah, forgot.
yeah. Okay, so I also think maybe people don't know this if anyone's listening. Yeah, like before the pandemic, for the last 7 years, I was a professional comedian. Also, so yeah, come see my work. No, I did improv professionally for like 7 years or so, and maybe 8 years, and then the pandemic happened, and then I haven't done it for a year, and that's why I'm doing this instead.
Is this not comedy enough for you, Nirav? Are you not counting this?
No, I think this is comedic enough for me. I'm making all this shit up too.
Wait, if you do improv, I don't think I've ever heard you say yes and.
Yeah. Okay. I know you're like kind of just poking me right now, but like, yes and is it's an idea. You're not supposed to actually say yes and. You accept what the other person has presented in the scene, and then you add to it.
I feel like my whole life is a lie right now, so...
Okay, well, let's just continue on. I'm joined by our guests today, who are actually accidentally the same guests from last week. We have Luke from GameLuster.
Hello.
Luke. God. And then Kyle's here from the was it the MTV show The Real World?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was big famous on that.
He was
Hey,
he was on
it's
he was
me.
on Dallas. Yeah, so
I'm having an out-of-body experience. Am I here or am I not? I didn't get introduced.
I genuinely don't know if I'm this is a podcast where I need to open the outline. I need to get back on track. Okay, I'm looking at it. Yes. So today we are going to talk about Resident Evil in celebration of the tall vampire lady from Resident Evil 8.
Hey.
And also the game just had a demo pop out. We know everyone's really hype on it, so we thought we'd take a look back at the OG Resident Evil. So we're really just covering that one today. I was thinking to kind of talk about the franchise, but then I realized there was like way too much to talk about with just even the first game. So yeah, we may come back to the other ones. I think yeah, so let's jump into the Hall of Fame list. Sorry, I'm again remembering that Onion article that was like, let's just jump right into it, says YouTuber 8 minutes into video.
I've seen that one. So good.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the Hall of Fame lister. So today we're going to be talking about the most insane mad science plot. And I was stalling a little because Kyle is an emergency guest and didn't know he had to think of something for this.
I got it now, though. I'm good.
Oh, you got it. Okay, great. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and restart though. So what is your most insane mad science plot in video games?
Okay, mine's fairly predictable. I went with Dr. Gerald Robotnik creating Shadow the Hedgehog because what I don't get is that he has the ability to create sentient life, and he put all of that power into a fucking hedgehog. You know, it's
okay.
It's like you
look. No, I'm sorry. I don't want you to misquote Sonic lore on this podcast. So Shadow, remember, was actually the second prototype of the ultimate life form. The first one was the Bio-Lizard.
Okay, so he started with lizards.
So Dr. Gerald Robotnik created a dinosaur, and then he said, no, and then he made a hedgehog.
See, that makes even less sense. Because I'm always struck by that classic line in, I think it's Shadow the Hedgehog, where he says, I'm Shadow, the most powerful hedgehog alive. And it's like, that's not really saying much, is it? It's a very low bar.
He's just sort of talking about how he's, I guess, more powerful than Sonic, the other hedgehog alive.
Yeah, but he could just say most powerful life form, and he probably wouldn't be far from
Well, I
the
think
truth.
he does have a catchphrase where he says, I am the ultimate life form.
Yeah, but why did he have to say I'm the most powerful hedgehog alive? Like, it's between...
No time for games?
He needed to specify, okay? People were confused.
So the creation of... What do you want to say? The creation of the ultimate life form as a whole?
And and putting it either in a lizard or a hedgehog, and just not thinking bigger than that.
I have to, again, just stress that the Bio-Lizard was really big. In fact, it was so big that when it merged with the Arc Station to become the Arc Cannon that was going to destroy the world at the end of Sonic Adventure 2 battle, the final hazard was literally the size of a planet.
Well, why on earth did he go from that to fucking hedge? You know what?
Then he made a hedgehog.
Okay, I'm looking at the no, you know what?
This is all just like gibberish to me.
I'm looking at the Bio-Lizard and I'm not impressed. It has to be said. He should have.
How are you not impressed by the Bio-Lizard?
It's just
also that game end. By the way, that the Bio-Lizard is like the second to last fight in Sonic Adventure 2 battle. So like if you play as Shadow, so you have to literally kill your older brother to like advance the story.
Well, that is it.
So
that is
tragic.
Classic. That's classic.
It is
Shadow.
That's classic
activity.
Sonic. Yeah. They love tragic stories.
I did not know Sonic ripped off DMC.
Oh fuck. No.
Okay, no one's played DMC. No. Never mind. The main character Nirav has to fight his own brother in the third and fifth game. It's a big plot point that, despite being brothers, they just fucking hate each other and can't get along.
Sonic Adventure 2 Battle come out first?
Before DMC 3?
I was making a joke.
If it's not factually correct.
This is a factually correct gamer podcast. DMC 3 came out in 2005.
Yes, so I think.
2005, which was 2 years after Sonic Adventure 2.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. Sources have.
Thanks for the great improv, guys. I make a joke and then you just fact check it instead of trying to play along
I literally
with something.
know. I would have, but I don't know anything about Devil May Cry. I think.
Yeah, I remember the other day when you told me you haven't played anything Capcom, and I was like, motherfucker, they had loads of good games in the 360 PS3 era.
I tried to play DMC 5, but like I got really sick because it's gross. The whole thing's very gross. And because you're inside like the entrails of a giant demon like most of the game, and every time you hit something, pus explodes out of it, and
it's more like a giant tree.
Yeah, but it's like organs and stuff. Like it's not a tree interior. It's like you're inside of a living thing, and it's like it made me feel very queasy.
But it's like a demon tree.
Right, but it doesn't make me feel better. Like, the imagery of, like, being inside of a big thing and, like, having, like, saliva and, like, blood, like, flowing around you is, like, just not my favorite.
That just sounds like an average Tuesday.
Man, I don't know. I asked other people, like, oh, does DMC5, is that just the first level, or is it like that most of the way? They're like, it's really just that most of the way through. Because if it was just, like, one level, I'd power through it, but I don't want to commit to 20 hours of that if it's making me feel queasy.
I have no words. DMC5 is such a good game. And your whole reasoning is, I got queasy because of, like, guts and stuff.
So I don't want to play a game that makes me queasy. Because there are a lot of video games that don't do that. So, yeah, there it is. I guess Luke, go ahead and put what's your mad science?
Okay, mine is Dead Rising 3. Specifically, so a bit of basic backstory is, in the first game there's a guy called Carlito who causes the outbreak that is the outbreak that you get caught in the first Dead Rising, right? He has a sister named Isabella. She causes or plays a hand in causing the outbreak that happens in Dead Rising 3, but her reasoning for doing it is that she knows someone in the area where the outbreak is happening is immune to the zombie virus. So her goal is cause the outbreak, find the immune survivor, make a cure, and then take credit for being like the hero who created the cure, as opposed to her brother who caused a massive outbreak.
Okay. That's... Oh, no, you're fine. I think I got you.
Did you hear all that?
Yeah, I think just the very end got weird. But I think I got you. Okay, cool. So that is convoluted. I will give you that.
If I start bringing up stuff from the first one, like how she knows where the person who's immune might be, then it's a whole other story. So I'm just trying to keep it as brief as possible.
Sure. Okay. What was the scientist's name?
Isabella Keys.
Okay. Kyle, what did you bring?
I'm going with the dragon Seath the Scaleless from Dark Souls. Literally insane, because he... Seath, yeah.
I'm just gonna type... I don't know. Alright.
So he literally went insane because he was born without the scales of immortality that literally every other dragon had. And he spent his life trying to figure out why, and he couldn't figure it out why. But he created several creatures in the Dark Souls universe. Example, the Moonlight Butterfly, which you eventually fight as a boss in that game. And yeah, he's just a insane sorcerer dragon.
Okay.
Going the non-human approach there.
What did he have, like a specific plot you want to point to, like a crazy idea to do with his science?
Mostly just the creating creatures thing. I did not have that much time to prepare this.
That's fair. Okay, I did a little bit of a deeper dive here. Oh man, I have discovered a friend. I don't know if anyone has anyone played Xenoblade Chronicles?
A little bit.
There is a character named Zanza who doesn't appear till late in the game, but the lore of his mad science plot is very important because it literally created the universe. He apparently before the universe existed, and this is I checked the wiki to re-up myself on the lore here. Before the universe existed, he was a scientist.
What? How?
Right. And there's just a picture of him in a lab coat, okay?
That's all that existed, is him and the lab coat.
And he's like pouring chemicals in his lab, and then
in
he
the
has
void.
a partner. And I didn't say. And then he has a partner, his coworker, and the two of them accidentally rip a hole in space and time and create a new universe out of nothingness. Like, they created the world, and the problem though is that they were like both torn in half. So half of them was trapped in the void, I guess, or wherever they were before, and the other half were like created as like the foundation of the new universe, and those two people became like the Bionis and the Mechonis, which are the two titans that everyone in the world of Xenoblade Chronicles lives on top of. And in doing that, he wanted to get the rest of his body back, right? So he was like half a guy doing more science, and his idea was that I'm going to open another rip in space and time and collapse the world so that I can recall half of my body back to me and implode the universe back to just my little floating science lab.
Well, that's a bit bonkers. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Okay. So, yeah, that, and you know what? That's just science.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say for that.
I think we went for like polar opposite ones there, because my one was put the ultimate life form in a hedgehog, and yours was create the concept of time and space.
Okay. So let's see here. Ree, where are your votes going?
Okay, I've definitely got to throw into the Xenoblade Chronicles one, because holy shit, aim high. And my second one's gonna go to mine because, we need to talk about Sonic as much as we can on this podcast.
I'll agree with that statement. Luke, where are yours going?
I'm also going to give one to Robotnik.
Hey.
I just think the idea that he can create powerful life forms and he creates a bloody hedgehog is just of all the animals you could go with. Why a hedgehog?
He played Sonic the Hedgehog and was inspired.
This is
and
a good idea.
I'll also give over one to Xenoblade Chronicles because that just was madness.
All right.
And also because I am a man of honor and I will not vote for myself.
Oh,
unlike some people.
Fuck's sake.
You can vote for yourself.
I can, but I'm a man of honor and I won't do it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Just so he can call me out. That's not very honourable, Luke. Cancelling me on my own podcast.
Listen, you don't think Double Dash is the best Mario Kart, so I really...
Are we back on
this?
think
all
it never ended.
I don't really consider any of your opinions to be valid.
We need to have an episode where we finally hash it out.
Maybe. Wait, Ree, were you the one who was saying that? Like, which one did you say was the best?
Mario Kart Wii.
Right, and then you admitted to having never played any of the other ones, correct?
No, I've played all of them.
Okay, that was maybe that was whoever our guest was on that one.
Yeah, I think it was, and we were all shocked.
Because somebody agreed with you, and then was like,
yeah,
I've never played
that
any
was
of the
it.
other
Yeah,
ones.
oh my god, yeah. That completely destroyed my argument.
It destroyed your argument, yeah. All right, Kyle, where are your votes going?
I gotta give another one to Xenoblade Chronicles. As for my second one, I'm gonna give a sympathy vote to myself.
Aww.
We're so close. I'm not gonna do any vote manipulation. I've done enough of it. Because I mean, as much as I desperately want the world to be comprised of just a big Sonic and a big Shadow that everybody lives on.
That could be the next Sonic Adventure game.
I mean, honestly, yeah. And they're like connected by like a Chaos Emerald in the middle, and like, oh man. All right,
potential.
hold on. Yeah, it's potential. Anyway, I am gonna give one to myself. I wanted to do a combination, but no such luck. I was gonna give one to Dr. Robotnik. I think the whole process that he went through of like, I will create the ultimate life form, and then made a dinosaur, and then was like, no, I did it bad. Here's a hedgehog. Like,
the logic is there.
Insane.
Like what joined what joined up that thinking? How did he get from point A to point B?
What was your what is the logic jump? I don't
he
know.
has fought against
Maria.
Sonic, and Sonic keeps beating him, so he's like, obviously hedgehogs are amazing.
Can we talk about how Shadow fell in love with his human adopted sister?
Yeah, that was a bit yikesy, wasn't
weird.
it? Yeah, they just presented that as if it was a normal thing for us to
It's a little
consume.
C-plot.
Also, like, yeah. Wait, Maria was not like Dr. Eggman's mother, right? Like she was like his aunt, I guess, or something. Because I don't think they tell us.
Wait, so Gerald
Jump into the
Robotnik...
lore here a little bit.
Yeah, hang on, so Gerald
Yeah.
Robotnik, is he the granddad or the uncle?
He's the grandfather. He's Eggman's like grandfather.
Okay, so Maria could be... I think she's the aunt of Eggman.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think that's...
Because I can't imagine
she's a
Eggman
cousin.
being.
Oh!
She's his cousin.
Yeah.
Oh, so she. Okay, so
That makes
she's,
it acceptable then, I guess.
So. All right, I'm glad we cleared that out.
That was going to bother me the entire podcast.
At one point we'll talk about Resident Evil, when we're done with the Sonic
Yeah, I was
lore.
going to say, aren't we supposed to
It's
be
now.
talking about Resident
Yeah,
Evil?
we
not
gotta-
Sonic,
we gotta do it.
about incest and Sonic.
Oh my god, we gotta stop spending 20 minutes on this thing. So, welcome everybody to Bustum's. We're talking about Resident Evil, the OG one today. So we're gonna dive a little bit into the history of this game and how it was developed, and then we'll talk a little bit more about like the characters and the story and like why everyone loves it so much. This all starts in 1989 when Capcom releases a horror game called Sweet Home. Sweet Home. Does anyone know Sweet Home?
I've heard of it. It doesn't sound as menacing as Resident Evil, has to be said.
It doesn't.
Is
does
it
have a
related
lot of-
to Sweet Home Alabama? The Leonard Skinner song.
I want to say that yes, this game made by Japanese people in 1989 was in Alabama. So yeah, like this game was it was an okay hit, or not okay. I mean, like it did okay, critically and commercially. I don't believe it released outside of Japan. But yeah, this was basically a top-down version of what eventually would become Resident Evil. It had all the exact same mechanics of like, here's a diamond-shaped key, better put it in the diamond-shaped dog's head to find a scepter, And it was a lot of that kind of energy. So they had a good time with it, and they kind of thought it would be better, that it could be better. Tokuro Fujiwara was the guy who made that game, and in 1993 he was like, I want to remake this game I made 4 years ago, but like with modern graphics. And his idea was like, the basis of this game is good, but like I want it to have like modern 3-dimensional graphics. People can walk around and control the camera, and like I want to have it like be like a worldwide release. I want to have it be a big thing, and so. In 1993, they commissioned a project to remake Sweet Home, and Tokuro Fujiwara put his number one guy, Shinji Mikami, who was just like a junior developer at the time, on the project, and he said like, you're taking the lead on this. I want some fresh eyes on it. So the gameplay system was essentially the same. A lot of inventory management, puzzles, survival. There were like notes and diary entries, etc., horror elements here and there. But Fujiwara, he said, the basic premise was that I'd be able to do the things that I wasn't able to include in Sweet Home, mainly on the graphics front, and he was confident that the horror games could become a genre. So that was kind of interesting to me, because horror games were not a genre before Resident Evil.
He's a visionary.
I mean, genuinely, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the idea of making what a horror movie brought to people in a video game had not really been conceived yet.
Yeah, I think
So-
that completely shows as well. I actually have played a little bit of the original back on PlayStation, and I don't know, they're very much just focused on what they can make the player feel, and that's what I think they got back to in the remakes, was sort of just the psychological messing with you, not necessarily like putting a bunch of shit on the screen, but just how little can they put on the screen and still like scare the shit out of you, basically.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I loved is that the reason Mikami was chosen among his junior developers was that Mikami was like apparently a huge coward. And like he was like, this guy like jumps at everything. He can't watch horror movies. This guy understands more than anybody else I have here what it means to be frightened.
Well, Kojima said the same thing, like, pre-Silent Hills. He said he always wanted to work on a Silent Hill game because it scared him, so he would just make a game filled with things that scare him.
Yeah, exactly, which is awesome. I think, I really love that idea, and especially for back then, like the creativity of choosing, rather than finding somebody who was like experienced maybe with like horror films or something like that to come in, like finding somebody who was just specifically just a big scaredy cat. It's like if Mario got Luigi to make a horror game. That's not what happened, right?
What?
Luigi didn't make Luigi's Mansion.
I mean,
No.
why is it?
No.
But if he is called Luigi's Mansion, I assumed in the lore he constructed it.
Or at least owned it.
I thought like he inherits it or something.
He wins it in a... Okay, does nobody else play Luigi's Mansion?
I've only played the third one.
I've never
I
played
don't know the lore.
In the first one, he wins the first one. In the first one, he wins the mansion in a contest that he did not enter. And then he shows up there with Mario, and Mario gets taken, and then becomes trapped in a painting, and then Luigi has to rescue him.
Isn't that basically what happens in 3 as well? Is they win an
Yeah.
all-expenses trip to
Yeah,
that
they
hotel they never
This
entered.
is now the third time that Luigi has won some sort of a prize for a contest he didn't enter, fallen for it, and then showed up.
See, don't open
Luigi's so
spam
lucky.
emails.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. So during the first 6 months of development, Mikami worked on the game basically alone. He made some concept sketches, characters, wrote a bunch of scripts. So his the backdrops that he wanted, he basically wanted to make The Shining. He kept citing The Shining, the movie, as like his inspiration for this game. So I know Stephen King was thrilled about that.
I think he definitely nailed it with the mansion. It does look very Shining-esque.
Yeah, I think that he was specifically like they took pictures of the Overlook Hotel and actually like digitized them basically for inspiration for the backdrops. So he also cited the 1979 film Zombie as an example of what he did not want to do. He said everything in that movie he did the opposite of it. Just like
I've not seen that many people based
what
on
did he
how
have
much I liked
against
that
it?
game. I'm gonna say that was a good idea.
Yeah, like after seeing how the game turned out, I have to assume this movie was horrible.
God.
So initially the game was actually in first person, and it featured a supernatural, psychological, like Japanese horror style. Basically, it had a lot of Japanese monsters in it. And then eventually they scrapped that after seeing George Romero's zombie films, and he's like, I want to make an American movie. I want to make an American zombie movie. Which is, again, just the latest in a trend of Japanese people seeing American things and being like, this is the best one. I want to make it too. And then, like, doing it better.
See,
like,
this is my favourite fact about the Resident Evil franchise because it's so painfully obvious it's pandering to Americans just by the character names. I mean, Chris Redfield, fucking, Kennedy, like, these are the most American-ass names. Like, they're literally calling them, like, bloody Joe Cheeseburger at this point. Just like, please buy our games, Americans.
Wasn't there one guy named, like, Dog the Bounty Hunter? Like, it's just so on the nose.
It is! It's just, like Jill Valentine sounds like a name a non-Western person thinks a Western person is called. And I love it.
Yes.
It's so charming. I absolutely...
Oh, it's such a good
It's
name.
very Hollywood, and I love it.
So, he was about, like I said, he was doing it in first person, and then he saw during development the 1992 movie Alone in the Dark, and then he was like, fuck. And he's like, we have to do fixed camera angles.
The American movie told us to do it, so we have to do it
exactly.
now.
He was like very reluctant, but then he said later that the reason that they had to switch the camera style was because a fully 3D camera was beyond the PlayStation's capability.
And it 100% isn't
and he
just
was right.
the movie did it well, so we wanted to
Yeah.
do what Hollywood told us to. Glorious Hollywood.
Well, I mean, I will also say, like, there are several instances throughout this story of Mikami saying, like, I wanted to do this, but the PlayStation technology wasn't there. Like, he was actually very disappointed with the PlayStation technology.
I'm kind of glad that it
even-
happened, though.
Yeah,
Because the fixed camera angles do add to the eeriness of the game.
they absolutely do. Having that, and I mean, like, we all know, like, fixed camera angles have kind of become a staple of the horror genre of, like, creating, like, controlling. I mean, I don't know. I'll say this, like, I think that the only difference between, like, just a, like, like a regular game and a horror game, but like if you take out the monsters and stuff, it's really about controlling where the camera is. Like that is the power of that. And like even in Resident Evil 2 remake, when they had like a fixed camera, like when you or not a fixed camera, like when they had like a free camera, like every single place you walk in, like what you're seeing through the camera angle is controlled. Like it's a very directed experience, you know, which is why it worked out so well.
Yeah, and I think that's why I've stuck with Resident Evil, because I'm not even the biggest fan of the horror genre, but Resident Evil is just so gripping because it gives you like that false sense of control, especially in the remakes when they give you a bit of control of the camera and it's like, psych, no, you're playing this our way, and that's just really gripping.
Yep. So, originally this was supposed to be a co-op game where, you had two people locally playing co-op. But again, this was removed because the PlayStation just wasn't powerful enough to handle doing co-op.
God damn it, Sony.
That would explain why there's essentially kind of two separate stories.
Yes.
Yeah. Either Chris or Jill.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So there was a demo eventually showed up in 1995 at the V-Jump Festival, where they featured a lot of cool stuff. Like including real-time weapon changes and things like that, and they even showed off the characters. So this is fun to me. Dewey, a black man, was intended to perform a comic relief role, and there was supposed to be another character called Gelzer, who was a cyborg, who was like a strongman character, and then they were replaced by Rebecca and Barry later on.
How again?
I mean, still Barry is kind of a strongman character.
Yeah.
In the Resident Evil games.
That's
so
Leap. That's a Gerald Robotnik Leap.
The Gerald Robotnik Leap, dude.
Like how he just goes from a cyborg to just this kind of stereotypical, like, this is like a strong cop guy.
Yeah. So the reason that they ended up choosing to develop exclusively for the PlayStation is because he said only, like specifically Mikami said, only PlayStation has enough polygons for me.
And even then it was disappointing.
And even then it was, this man was living 10 years in the future of video games. Like, he's like, okay, this is the most powerful system right now, but it's not good enough.
Imagine if you could show him the tall vampire lady and be like, this is what you can do in the future. And
just keep at it. Eventually you'll make this.
Eventually you will make you will make everyone horny for one
Look
day.
Look at this tall vampire lady. What you're doing right now will be responsible for this in about 20 years time. 20, 30 years. 30
years, Jesus. Oh.
Holy shit, no. You're making that up.
So, eventually the team ended up with about 80 people on it. I will mention that during this whole time in development, Capcom was 100% sure this game was going to fail. They thought it was going to be a big hit, a big like swing and a miss kind of a situation. They didn't give a ton of money to Mikami. Like he had enough to have like a large enough team to work on it, but like that he really had to fight with them to like, for them to give money for this project. They really thought it was doomed to fail. And now we have the tall lady instead. So So Mikami again came back and he didn't want to port this game to the Saturn because he said there aren't enough polygons.
It's all about the polygons.
He could have saved the Saturn, for God's sake.
Well, the Saturn version did come out in 1997.
It's too late.
Too late, yes. One hilarious thing about this was like people were apparently begging for a Saturn version and Sega was like on his ass like trying to get him to port it. And then finally he did, and at the Tokyo Game Show in 1997 he showed that off, and then he immediately followed it with a demo for Resident Evil 2 and it said PlayStation only.
Oh my god. Oh, maybe that's why Sega went a bit loopy. Maybe he is actually single-handedly responsible for them dropping out of the console race just because they couldn't get over that burn.
The Resident Evil was such a big hit that if it had been like a Saturn game, I think it would have actually saved Sega in the whole consoles like war, like legitimately.
We have found ground zero for the Sega disaster. It's here. We discovered it.
If only it had enough polygons, it could have happened.
I'm going to go back in time to Sega and just go like, it's all about the polygons, just trust me on that. Oh, shove as many
more.
As many as you can.
So yeah, the live-action full-motion video sequences were filmed in Japan with a cast of American actors.
And they are glorious.
So this is amazing. The Japanese version of the game doesn't have Japanese dub either. It's the same thing, just with Japanese captions.
So it's like, you will love Hollywood. You will all love it.
Well, the thing is that Mikami recorded. He had a cast of Japanese actors record the entire thing, the entire game, and then he was like, "No, it's not good." And he just didn't put. He said it wasn't up to snuff with like the quality people expected from Capcom.
Oh
the
my
voice performance
God.
of everybody, of all the Japanese actors, apparently were bad.
And it took him the whole game to realize that.
I guess so.
See, another thing with that live action opening, there are like, if you look it up, there are videos of people who have tracked down the actors who played them and like interviewed them about the shooting process. And I think like maybe the only one they haven't found is the one who played Jill Valentine, or I could be wrong about that, but they've like tracked down a lot of the actors that were in that live action opening and interviewed them about the experience of doing it, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. For me, I don't think the Japanese cast did a bad job. I think the real reason Mikami didn't want to include that is because he wanted Japanese people to also feel like they were watching an American movie. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. He was dedicated to the vibe at that point.
Yeah.
You couldn't separate the man from it.
So the lead programmer, Yasuhiro Anpo, said later that due to all the development staff being Japanese, they were unaware how poorly localized the game was.
Yeah.
Which is
terrible localization
totally
in the
fair.
original.
Totally fair for them being Japanese. But Luke, could you hit a few points of the localization problems with this game?
Well, I think the most famous line is Jill Sandwich, in which there is a scene where Jill walks into a room, gets locked in, and then the roof starts lowering. And Barry shows up at the nick of the time to help her out, and when Jill thanks him, and then he says, "You were almost a Jill sandwich."
Well, hold on.
See, that's hilarious.
Hold on. I'm interested.
Yeah, but like it's just, I think there's more like Master of Lockpicking is another one.
Oh God, yes.
Like that comes from the first game because Jill like actually has a lockpick and pick locks on doors, and I think like somebody has a lockpick and says, "Here, Jill, you should have this. You're the master of unlocking after all." There's just a lot of really famous lines that come from the first game's bad dubbing.
Everything's so clunky.
Those are the two that first come to mind.
So clunky, and I love that they were essentially like weebs for America, and it really shows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I think one of the sort of the appeals of Resident Evil up until about 7. I think 7 doesn't do this as much, but a lot of like all the Resident Evil games pre-7 are just really cheesy in ways. Like it's like RE4 especially is the absolute worst for it, but I think all of them have just varying levels of this sort of weird cheesiness to them that is clearly informed by people trying to make a game featuring Americans that have never actually been to America or met Americans.
See, I think the cheesiness is something that always brings me back to the Resident Evil games.
Yeah,
I love it.
I
absolutely love it.
I think it's especially RE4 just has some of the funniest lines you'll hear in a game. Like when Salazar says, "I'm going to send my right hand after you," and Leon's response is, "Your right hand comes off." It's like lines like that. It sounds stupid, but there's just something brilliant about it.
Yeah.
That's like the sort of that level of cheese that we saw. Like 7 and 8, 7 and the way 8 looks, they're a bit more serious. But I think in the 2 remake and 2 and 3 remakes, they still kind of brought it back. The sort of just weird cheesiness of those games that I think is part of their appeal.
Yeah,
despite being scary in a lot of ways as well.
It's supposed to feel very classic Hollywood, I think.
And I feel it makes you remember the characters better too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what? Shout out to Leon Kennedy for being the first bit of himbo representation in popular media.
I love Leon Kennedy, but Leon Kennedy is far and away one of the dumbest people one of the dumbest video game characters ever.
It's a miracle that he survived this long.
Like in Resident Evil 2, he's just like so hopelessly good and so quick to believe anybody and everybody around him that I just think, how did he survive? Like he's just such an idiot.
He would not have made a good cop.
He needed a character arc, so he starts off super dumb.
Yeah,
and then he has to end up learning.
He ends very dumb.
Yeah, I mean he's still dumb. But he's not as naive.
Like, he doesn't make it as a cop, and then he becomes a government agent, and he goes to Spain to try and find the president's daughter, and it's just
he's failing upwards.
But it's like, yeah, basically. I love Leon, but he's a moron.
I mean, that is
Right.
an accurate representation of the West, failing upwards. Like, that.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Mikami hit it right on the head.
Did.
All right. So, Mikami had expected to sell about 200,000 copies, maybe, because he said this is going to be for hardcore gamers only. But casual audiences actually jumped on it, and they sold about 1 million copies in a year, which was almost unheard of back then for video games. Like, this game, the first game in the series, was just like a giant success commercially. Yeah, like I said, Capcom had projected that the game was going to flop. And it is very... I don't know if I would say Resident Evil was the first horror game. It really was the first dedicated horror game, but it definitely was the first successful horror game.
It's like Doom for FPS. It wasn't the first, but
Yes.
it was the big one
Yes.
that
Yeah.
popularized that genre entirely. Let alone the fact that it's like ever since has been one of Capcom's biggest franchises.
Right.
And
And
never really faded away.
yeah, as of now, it is still the Capcom's biggest franchise. Still by a good bit. Monster Hunter's coming up on it, but
I mean, I think World is the single best
Yes.
selling Capcom game of all time. It sold like 10 million, which was nuts.
no, it actually sold about 25 million now.
Is that
Yeah, which is it far and away beat every other game they've ever made by like multitudes.
and I think I remember reading that the Monster Hunter Rise demo crashed the eShop because so many people were trying to download it at once.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
That franchise is getting big, but I think Resident Evil...
I think even like looking at the hype for RE8 over the last week, like Resident Evil's still like the king.
I wouldn't say it's hype, it's just a bunch of people
Oh,
who
horny people, yeah.
are both scared and attracted to a giant vampire lady, as well as those other weird women they showed off in the recent trailer.
Oh, that just made it worse. And by that I mean better, because I'm in...
There's going to be so many people that are both terrified and have an erection while they're playing Resident Evil 8.
Only way I know how. All right, so this game a lot of people know this already, but Resident Evil, the franchise in Japan, is called Biohazard. They had a problem because their Capcom director in their American and in their North American office, his name was Chris Kramer, just another very American man. He said, like, okay, the word biohazard is actually, like, we can't trademark it. They tried to trademark it, and they couldn't because of the 1992 video game Biohazard Battle, and then also the New York alternative metal band Biohazard. Sorry. Yeah, but they couldn't trademark the video game Biohazard, so they had to come up with a new name. So Capcom ran an internal company contest. So everyone in the company got to put in a hat like a new idea for a name for this franchise.
They got to flex their American weeb knowledge.
Right. So the name Resident Evil was settled upon, and they thought it was like, okay, since it takes place in a mansion, they don't know specifically who put it in the hat, to like submit it.
No one
but
wanted to
it's
own
there.
up to it. No one was proud enough of it.
Chris Kramer actually came out and said that he thought the name was incredibly stupid, but he also admitted he couldn't think of a better one.
Oh, I love that he was willing to admit that.
Does anyone have a better idea? Okay, we have 10 seconds right now to think of a better idea for the game Biohazard. What's its name? Go.
Ooh.
Zombie House.
Zombie House.
There are zombies in the house.
Zombie Mansion.
Zombie Mansion.
Bad
Panic.
illness.
Ooh. Zombie Mansion, panic, exclamation point.
So
Panic House.
virus.
Or Pandemic House, that's what I was trying to say.
I'm just trying to come up with...
Quarantine house.
Pandemic House is where I live. Right now.
I was just trying to come up with something that doesn't involve dead, because there's so many zombie games that have the word dead in them.
Yeah.
You gotta know what you're getting
Like,
into.
you don't get many horror games that don't have like dead or something that means
I was
death in
literally
it.
about to say Walking Dead, and I was fuck. That's already a thing.
Ah, damn it. All right, so there was some censorship for the English version of this game. There were shots of mangled corpses, the Cerberus zombie dog being shot, and Joseph's death. I don't know who. I've not played the original Resident Evil. I've watched a full playthrough of the entire thing, but I did forget who Joseph is.
I think he's the guy who gets mauled by dogs at the start before they get into the mansion.
Ah, okay. So that was edited out, and then as well as all scenes featuring Chris Redfield smoking a cigarette, which like
You don't want the people to see that.
okay,
Yeah.
listen to me, it was 1993. Like, is that surprising to anybody?
It is a bit, to be honest, that they're all okay with this game where you're stuck in a...
Ree, you may not know about the anti-smoking campaign that Bill Clinton led
Oh
here
shit,
in the 90s,
I forgot that was a
but,
big
like,
thing in America, wasn't it?
America especially, though, is like so weird about censorship, and I always thought like The Walking Dead was on a regular channel, so they couldn't have swearing in it, but they could show people getting violently shredded by zombies.
It is
just like,
I think...
it is impossible to parse what is okay and what is not okay over here.
yeah, like it's just American censorship to me is so weird.
Just for context, for Americans confused by my confusion, over here smoking was more or less, I think I'm right in saying, the complete opposite. So smoking was incredibly normalized, at least when I was growing up in the noughties and in the 90s as well, I think, to the point where you could pretty much just bloody smoke anywhere you wanted. And I remember, especially in the early 2000s, smoking advertising was incredibly lax. So yeah, we were the exact opposite.
Yeah, I think Europe has gone sort of the opposite direction. Like, I don't know, Kyle, when's the last time you saw somebody smoke a cigarette?
I don't
Yeah,
have no idea.
I genuinely can't even call to mind a situation where I've ever seen
Mine
that.
was today. I go into work and there's several of them outside.
There's just a guy in my living room. Anyway, this was actually one of the first games to receive a mature rating from Hillary Clinton's ESRB ratings board.
God,
I call it that
God damn it, Hillary.
because yeah, Hillary. She didn't invent it, but she's the one who caused it to be created indirectly. And I do want to again mention something that, like, I think a lot of people know about the creation of the ESRB and the court case and everything, where Hillary Clinton like went to court to like talk about how like these bad games were being sold to children. And she referred to this game as the Resident of Evil Creek.
I mean, I was about...
That's not a bad name, though.
It's not a bad name, Hillary.
That
She should have put that in the hat.
Get Chris Kramer on the phone.
Too late. She's fucking copyrighted it. She's sitting on that and she's waiting.
God. So yeah, this received a mature rating, so not allowed to be sold to anyone under the age of 18. So in the game itself, the auto-aiming function was disabled in the American version for some reason, and like the numbers of the ink ribbons found by the players was reduced, I guess because they thought we were stupid.
True.
So they Mikami's actual original plan was that the boxes wouldn't be connected. The item boxes where you store your shit, like that they weren't connected.
That would have made it so much harder.
Right.
Yeah, that would have made it so difficult.
Yeah, and so they removed it from the retail release in the retail version that ended up getting out everywhere. All the boxes are interconnected, but Mikami kind of thought of this sort of as like a hard mode for the game. An interesting note here, Shinji Mikami noted that they made the American version harder at the request of the American staff so that the game could be rented and not be completed in a few days.
Capitalism breeding innovation there.
Yeah, you walk into the Blockbuster, you get your copy of Resident Evil, you take it home, and then you're finished the next day. You come back and you've paid $2 American dollars for that experience. Things were simpler.
Oh, I missed that.
This is when games weren't like have multi-billion-dollar budgets and about 20 million people working on a single entry though. So
yeah.
When they didn't need to sell like 5 million copies.
Resident Evil was remade in 2002 and was part of an exclusivity agreement between Capcom and Nintendo. So Nintendo actually they had a contract for them to remake Resident Evil 1 exclusively for them for the GameCube. So yeah, Mikami decided to produce a remake of the original game because he felt that the graphics hadn't aged well and he wanted new players to appreciate it.
He wants those polygons.
Mikami just like had this huge hard-on for polygons. He's like, the GameCube has how many polygons?
It made it easier to fit it somewhere.
And I think a lot of people don't remember this because this was the last and only time Nintendo did this, but the GameCube was far and away the most powerful console of its generation.
God, I forget
Yeah, the
that.
GameCube was way more powerful than the PS2 or the Xbox.
And everyone made fun of it because it looked like a lunchbox, as if that wasn't a bonus.
Well, that was exact. Thank you. That was good.
It made it portable.
I still think every night as I'm trying to fall asleep, I remember the Switch presentation in 2017 where they're like every console in our history has influenced the creation of the Switch. The GameCube had a handle, so it was portable. It's like, what are you talking about?
And he's not wrong. You just couldn't play it while it was portable.
You know what? As someone who had to go between different houses to see my parents, that was the easiest one to lug around.
Oh my god, I did too.
We had
that
was the divorced
okay,
parents' console. That was.
It absolutely was. Okay, so yeah, the Mikami felt that the GameCube finally had enough polygons to bring the game closer to the original version.
We got to see his vision finally.
He's the original Todd Howard. I love it.
Oh my god, yeah. The developers originally planned to, and then Todd snapped him up later.
Oh
Holy
my
shit.
god, full circle.
The developers originally planned to make all enemies invisible in the new version.
What? You're making that up. You're making that up.
No, I'm not. That was apparently an idea that was pitched. Like, all enemies are invisible, and then they realized that it would be very hard.
I want to say that's a bonus mode.
Yeah, I want to see this version.
Oh, it might be.
I remember the remake has some really nutty bonus modes. Like, there's another one where only one zombie spawns in the same zombie will keep spawning in every different room, and if you shoot it, it explodes and kills you instantly.
That's such an interesting idea.
The first remake especially has a lot of just like replayability.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, they've always been on the short side, and I remember the remake having a lot of weird modes.
All right, nice.
The remake was my first experience with Resident Evil, so I thought it was a pretty good intro.
Yeah, I think so. So just quickly, the remake was made by 4 people in 2001.
What?
They made it in just over a year, and they crunched for the last 2 months with long days and literally no breaks for 2 months.
That's pretty crazy because that remake is so good. It's unbelievably good.
Yeah,
And
wow.
it still looks really well. Like, the HD remakes they put on the 1 and PS4 of it are like ridiculously good looking.
Yeah.
For the ports of a GameCube game.
Right, and so this was met with critical acclaim everywhere. It outsold the original, and it sold about 1.35 million, which is a lot for a GameCube game not made by Nintendo. I mean, I'm not looking at any numbers right now, but like I have to guess that's the highest selling GameCube game that wasn't made by Nintendo.
Well, Resident Evil 4 was also initially exclusive to GameCube.
Oh, okay, that must have been part of their exclusivity agreement then, yeah.
It was initially exclusive, but eventually got ported to PlayStation 2 and Xbox.
Okay, huh.
Because they had the whole Capcom 5 thing that was like Killer 7 and some other games that were supposed to be GameCube exclusive.
Okay, alright. Yeah, so, yeah, that's kind of covering the development here. So I want to talk about the plot a little bit. So, Kyle, why don't you tell me a little bit about, like, what is the story about in this first game?
Well, they are responding to some sort of outbreak in the town Raccoon City, I want to say.
That's the second one.
I think, is it
first
Liberty
one.
City is the first? Is that somewhere else?
No, that's Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, no.
Raccoon City is Resident Evil.
Close.
Yeah.
In the first one, they go up to the Spencer Mansion in the woods. They're answering a distress call from the other Stars team that went up there and then lost communication.
And yeah, they lose communication. Everything goes to shit, basically.
They get attacked by unknown. Oh, my phone is going off. That's just.
I'm sorry, what's happening?
My phone just went off. My mum's ringing me.
Is the making bacon pancakes thing your ringtone?
Yep.
Oh, I love it.
But
It is, absolutely. It's been that for a long time.
so they get trapped in this mansion by zombie dogs on the outside. And basically they just have to figure out a way to escape. That's the general plot.
Yeah, I mean, that really is it. Once they get in the mansion, it's just kind of...
we gotta find a way
how
out
do
of
we
here.
survive? How do we get out of here? And then, as they explore the mansion, they realise there's some messed up shit going on in there.
Yeah. So, I can't remember. Do they talk a lot about like the Umbrella Corporation and all that big shit in this one, or no?
Yeah, eventually,
Yeah.
Like initially, it's just them trying to survive until they start to discover that Umbrella's been doing some messed up shit.
I think that's like a late game-ish revelation.
It's like I think once they stumble upon the lab under the mansion, that's when it starts to realize, oh, this is all Umbrella.
And then it's more of a plot point in the second one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you actually invade the lab and everything in the second one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Jill Valentine just as a character, because she's definitely been one of I would say like one of the more like I guess well-known and prestigious characters in video games. And like she had like kind of an interesting like I guess creation. So like initially like Mikami had talked about how he and one of the art designers, Isao Okishi, I think is how it's said, had designed her, and so he Mikami was very staunch about not wanting women to appear submissive in Resident Evil. He did not want them to become objects of like sexual objects, and so that's why he tried to kind of push Jill Valentine to the forefront of the story, and why he kind of pushed her character to be very independent and competent. He also specifically made her like of a military background to like kind of stop people from thinking that she was, any less competence than any of the men in the story.
Wait, so this is why he made Leon Kennedy the dumbass sexual object. Very progressive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
honestly,
like the whole team in the first one are either like ex-soldiers or highly trained cops.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah, her inventory. She's like her story is a little bit easier, if I recall. Like they give you a few bonus things, like you have a larger inventory and the lockpick.
You start out with a gun.
So
you don't have a gun when you start as Chris Redfield.
Yeah, I remember rightly. Jill has more inventory space, but Chris can take more of a beating. If what I remember.
Okay. Yeah. So he was like I said, he wanted to. Mikami was like aware that like most of his player base was going to be male. What he wanted to do was create a female character that people chose to play as, that his male players chose to play as, not because like of sexual objectification, but because they admired her. And so he, with that in mind, like that kind of all went into the creation of this character. And I mean, like again, like I mean, and no joke, like that's a very progressive thing for like a studio to do in like the early '90s like that. And that's really awesome that Mikami is like a cool person and not a jackass like everyone else.
Resident Evil as a franchise has a history of strong female characters, like Claire in the second one is
really
great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Jill specifically is just like a straight up badass.
Mikami said this: "I don't know if I've put more emphasis on women characters, but when I do introduce them, it is never as objects. In other games, they will be peripheral characters with ridiculous breast physics. I avoid that sort of obvious eroticism."
See, it's interesting he says that, because I believe in the Xbox and PlayStation ports of the Resident Evil 1 remake, I'm pretty sure they added boob physics to Jill.
It was on the GameCube version too.
Was it on the GameCube?
Yeah.
So
Nintendo loved it.
Hang on, the smoking isn't allowed, but jiggling breasts.
This isn't the original. This is the remake from.
In the remake, they had jiggly boob physics.
Of course they did.
A lot of people apparently like found this character confusing when the game came out. Critics were confused because they weren't supposed to objectify this female character and like didn't understand how the game worked.
You mean they're presenting a woman as an actual person who can do things?
Right.
No
Guys,
way.
it sounds like you're inserting politics into my video game here.
Yeah. I will say that Mikami also made a request when he left Capcom eventually. He made a request to anyone making any future Resident Evil games to not objectify Jill, and that to keep her as like a strong, independent, and like competent character who could take care of herself.
But no, it was the evil SJWs on Twitter which made them censor Jill in the remake, and we should all be outraged because she.
What did they censor?
Because
didn't she just wear? She's wearing a sports bra
yeah.
now. Is that the
and
problem?
also apparently she's not wearing a miniskirt anymore, and it's very, very, very important to the lore that she is wearing a miniskirt.
No, I think the outrage stemmed from a bunch of people who had the classic Jill outfit and were disappointed that she happened to wear pants under the skirt.
What, they expecting to see her vagina, I mean?
Yeah, like they just... For some reason, there was a collection of people who got angry that Jill wears pants under the original classic outfit, and were like, "This isn't faithful to the original." It's like, well, could you see under her skirt in the original? Based on the static camera angles, I don't think you could.
But they could sense the genitals there, and that was enough for them.
So what is it about this that you think that like sticks with people? Like, why is? I mean, I'll sweeping generalization here. I mean, Resident Evil is still sort of the definitive horror video game series. Like, what is it about that series that has stuck with people so much, and why, like, it's sort of the definition of that thing?
I think it's largely because, you know, gameplay can age and graphics can age, but atmosphere doesn't really. Atmosphere can still stick with you no matter how old the game gets, and I think, like, if you go back to the original Resident Evil, you will still be scared, and I think that's why it works.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. The atmosphere of the original one, I don't think any of the other games have really compared to the atmosphere of the original.
Yeah, I think that's true. I love I loved watching I actually watched the Game Grumps play the original one, the HD remake of it, which was very funny. But like, it also was like really fun, really cool how like, I don't know, like there's sort of an existential dread to it too. It's not a game dependent on jump scares, which I think is great.
Yeah, true.
No, I think 7 especially was as well. Like, even though it has like VR stuff where there's stuff made for VR where things get right in your face, it always felt like it was telegraphing it.
Right.
Jumps making it clear they were coming.
Yeah.
And I think Resident Evil 1's only real jump scare is when you're going along the bottom floor and the dog's bursting through the window. I think that's like... But like, that scare is like a really legendary one that people always talk about.
Yeah, like I think for me, like from what I've seen, like one of the scariest parts of that game is like seeing Lisa Trevor, like the creature, and like you don't like, it's not like a jump scare, it's not like jumping and running at you, like just seeing it there and like understanding what it is like the existential terror of the thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like like you can apply the same thing to Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. They do like a really good job of just creating something that's scary without them needing to explain it. It's just like it shows up and you can tell them it's not, this thing is alright. And it was like the same deal with Mr. X. He makes just such a blunt entrance that's not telegraphed or foreshadowed in any way.
The fact that Mr. X is maybe the scariest character in video games, because the fact that when I didn't know what he was going to do when he caught me, right? When I was playing the remake, because I had not played this original one, but like I was so scared he was going to like, you know, something really, really horrible was going to happen, and he did catch me, and he just fucking clocked me in the back of the head.
I love there's no...
And for some reason, it was just worse. It's worse because he just fucking punches you. Like, that's horrifying.
He's gonna hit me real hard.
And then he waits for you to get up, and then he punches you again. Like, it's horrifying.
He's just a bully.
Mr. X. Like, he's so terrifying that
Yes.
he's literally just walks up to you and punches you. There's no over-the-top animation. There's no ridiculous thing. It's just like, no, he's just going to follow you around and punch you if he gets close enough.
Yes, yeah. And because I got too scared while playing Resident Evil 2, I installed a mod that made it so that instead of the music, so that when the music that when he was approaching you was the X gon' give it to you.
I've seen that one. Oh my god.
I think the sound of him like stomping around just like freaked me out.
Yeah, that stomping was like...
The sound in
it's
2 Remake
really scary.
is... Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Yeah. That I remember like when that was like announced as like one of the Game of the Year nominees. I was like, it's a remake. I don't know if that's right. And then I played it and I was like, all right, yeah, this is in the discussion. I get it. Like, that's a phenomenal game. But I think we'll probably end up doing a Resident Evil 2 episode later.
I could wax
separately,
lyrical about RE2 and how brilliant it is for hours.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, yeah. So what are anyone's thoughts on Resident Evil 8, just from what we've seen so far? If we could just maybe stray away from the tall vampire
I
lady.
have got no points to say.
Yeah, I got to think now.
On the one hand, I think it looks good, but also I got some feelings from like massive, more action-heavy vibes again from it. Like some of the stuff in it made it look like maybe they were leaning into the action a little harder than before, which, don't get me wrong, like Resident Evil 4 does that really well, but yeah, like I'm being optimistic about it because I got some massive Resident Evil 4 vibes from it in general, especially like they brought back the inventory system from Resident Evil 4, which is just low-key like a really great thing, and it still looks like it's going to be really violent, which I think was a great thing that RE7 did. Was like a complete tonal shift, going from cheesy Americanized horror to this really violent grindhouse feel. Like the first half of that game when you're fighting the Baker family is far, far stronger than the second half, which is more like classic Resident Evil. Like, it's not bad, but the first half of that game and the Baker family are just so like crazy and memorable.
The family is way scarier than, like, the goop monsters from the wall or whatever the fuck.
So, like, the fact that they've got clearly established villains again, they've got Giant Vampire Lady and her three... I guess those were her three sisters she mentions in a phone call. And...
Why are they so small, though?
Know. But if they go, like, the same way RE7 did, where each family member was a different genre of horror, like, I would love... On the one hand, I'm terrified, but also based on what they did in RE7, I hope they get even more violent and disgusting. Because it was just such a massive change that they just... I just loved it. Like, I'm a long-time Resident Evil fan, and even after Resident Evil 6 and Revelations 2 not being great, I was still, like, day one purchase for Resident Evil 7. I was still just like, I love this franchise too much. So, like, I'm really looking forward to RE8, even though I've got some concerns about what the trailer stuff... As well as that, just that... they need to give up on multiplayer. I don't know why they're so obsessed with trying to get some sort of multiplayer game. Like, I really wanted to like the multiplayer they bundled with Resident Evil 3, but they just completely screwed it up with balancing.
All they have to do is literally slap Dead by Daylight in the game and replace the monsters with Resident Evil monsters. They don't have to do anything else. Or just do a collaboration.
Else. Put Nemesis or Mr. X in Dead by Daylight.
Yes, that's a better idea.
As someone who plays a lot of Dead by Daylight, I would love, like, Mr. X. And then maybe Leon as Claire as survivors.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I feel like Mr. X would be great because instead of having the terror radius and the heartbeat, it could just be his stomps.
Oh, that's good.
See, now I just want this.
Yeah, I've made myself
want you to put this in my head.
Yeah, if you're listening, Capcom, you get that one for free. We're putting it in the hat.
I mean, they got Silent Hill in there, so there's no excuse for not getting some arguably the most popular horror franchise in the world. You're not getting any representation in there at the moment.
Yeah, that is true. Like, did they add RoboCop in there too?
No, that's Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
That's not a joke. RoboCop is in Mortal Kombat 11. He was added in the Aftermath DLC, and he's really good. And they got Peter Weller to voice him.
Oh wow!
Just like how they actually got Sylvester Stallone to voice Rambo in MK11 as well.
Oh, and Terminator as well.
Yeah, did they get Arnold for that?
Oh, did they not?
No.
I was convinced that was him. Very good impersonation.
There's someone else. Who else was there? I feel like there's another guest character in MK11 who's a famous character.
And they got the guest characters. It's the weirdest Smash Bros ever.
Yeah.
I mean, Mortal Kombat 10 had Alien, Predator, Leatherface, and Jason as guest characters in it.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so last thing here. Are there enough ghosts? I don't know if there are any ghosts. Are there?
There's not ghosts, but RE4, Resident Evil 4 went through multiple prototypes, and one of them originally was like a castle with ghosts. There's videos of it on YouTube where it was like a ghost with a hook that attacks Leon. One of the original prototypes.
I feel like
cool.
So it's ghost potential.
I feel like ghosts would make it a little too busy. Like, there's already zombies.
Yeah, there's like fucking werewolves and vampires and Frankensteins or whatever the fuck.
Might as well have aliens in it too. I don't know.
Yeah, just go full American Horror Story on it. All right, let's get out of here. So, welcome to Time for Games. This is a fun game called Zombieland. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say the name of a media or franchise that is that has zombies in it, and you know how like in everything they like nobody can say the word zombies.
Oh, yeah,
in
I hate
anything
that
for some
so
reason?
much. It drives me nuts. That why can't you just call them zombies? Why is it like? Because they always go with this
Nope.
idea, like Walking Dead. It was like John Romero never made any of his zombies.
Oh, you're gonna spoil it. You're gonna spoil it. You're gonna spoil the game.
Right.
So, yeah. What I'm gonna do here is go through, name some franchises or things that have zombies in them, and first I'll give anyone an opportunity if they know already what the zombies are called in that. Like, go and shout it out, and if not, I have some multiple choice options for you guys to guess what the zombies are called in this thing.
Okay.
All right, so let's start off a little easier. We have Days Gone. Did anyone play that?
No.
I have not.
Wasn't it Freakers or Creepers?
Was it Freakers or Creepers?
Freakers.
It
I
was.
played a bit of Days Gone.
Yeah, it was Freakers. Okay, nice. I figured somebody would have seen that. Like, oh yeah, we don't go that way. That's where the Freakers are.
I was like, just call them zombies.
But yeah,
for God's
like
sake.
I don't see why they like all these like properties of try and invent new words for zombies, but realistically, if there was a zombie outbreak, people would just go, "Yeah, that's a zombie." Yeah,
That's a
like
zombie.
it's culturally we all know them as zombies. We wouldn't invent a new
Yeah.
word for them.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of the ones that have done that, like I won't say it, but Walking Dead, I think in that universe there was never any zombie movies or any kind of fictional zombie media.
Yeah.
Hence why they didn't have a word for it.
Yes, I think that's correct.
Which I just think is absurd. Just call them zombies.
Very dumb.
It's simple.
Okay, how about Left 4 Dead? Kyle, I don't know if you remember this. So here, does anyone know?
Wait, did they not call them zombies?
No,
They
they're
just
not called
call them
zombies.
Infected or something?
Nope, they're called some. They have a name. I'll give you some options here.
I guess I
Whiskey
missed that
Delta,
lore.
Zulu Oscar, or Lima Delta.
Wait, say that again.
Whiskey Delta, Zulu Oscar, or Lima Delta. One of those
I
three.
want to say
My Golden Six is saying whiskey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Whiskey Delta too.
I've played a lot of Left 4 Dead, but I can't think.
Yeah, they are called Whiskey Delta.
Because of Walking Dead.
oh,
Whiskey
Yep.
Delta.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yep.
Ah.
Yep. Nice. All right. How about World War Z? Did anyone read that? That's an amazing book,
I've
by the
only
way.
seen
If you haven't
the
read it,
I haven't
read it.
read the book.
No,
I've
the
played
movie's not
game,
real.
but-
Movie's not real. Okay, I'm sorry. I just have to say something quickly. World War Z is a phenomenal book. It's an anthology of stories that, in the fictional world of this, was collected by the author, and like he goes to 70 different countries and interviews different people about the zombie war that they all just experienced, and like puts it in chronological order. And then the movie is Brad Pitt doing like an extended version of 3 of those like 70 stories, and he's in a helicopter. It's such a creative idea for a book, and then like they fucking whatever. Anyway, does anyone know what they're called?
No, I've played the game a bunch. The game's pretty fun, but
I've heard the game's okay.
I can't remember them using something
no.
different.
Okay, so their
I
name.
feel like I'll know it once I hear it.
Okay, here are our options: Max, Zeke, or Zambos.
Oh, it's Zeke.
Yeah, I was gonna say Zeke.
Yeah, you're right. It is
Okay,
Zeke.
too immediately.
Yeah,
as
it's
soon
Zeke.
as I call him
Yeah.
Zeke.
Nice. All right. How about Zombieland?
Oh,
Did they not just call it zombies?
oh God, no! How can I not remember this?
For a movie
Yeah.
called Zombieland, surely they would just call them zombies.
No.
I'm
not
gonna
good
need
enough.
the options, but I'll know it when I hear it. I think.
Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
know this one. Jackers, Arnold's, or T800s.
Never mind. I would
Yeah,
know that.
I thought I would know. It's just not there.
I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, why
Jackers,
not?
then.
No,
Yeah.
they're called T800s because they're reminiscent of the Terminator.
And not reminiscent of fucking zombies. Like,
Everybody is in the Zombieland universe. Everyone's seen Terminator. No one's ever heard of a zombie.
I'm so angry. That's made me irrationally angry.
All right. How about Pride and Prejudice and Zombies?
Forgot that existed. Oh,
You're better for it.
Like James or Austin's, maybe.
Call
call them Austin.
We got a couple of Jane Austens coming in on the right.
or it's gonna be something that Americans think sounds British.
Yeah, you're right. It is. Okay, here are your options: unconsecrated, unmentionables, unmarked.
I'm
Unmarked.
gonna go unconsecrated.
Unmarked.
I'm saying unmentionables.
It is unmentionables.
Hey!
Unmentionables.
They're like, we just don't talk about the unmentionables. Which is actually a very British way of referring to a zombie, I think.
Like Americans' warped sense of British, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. You guys are the creators of The Troubles.
There was some trouble going on there. You can't dispute it.
I mean, it's straight to the point.
You
Not
tell me there
fancy.
wasn't trouble there. Maybe caused by us, but
All right. How about Evil Dead? Does anyone know?
Deadites.
Yep, you got it. How about Night of the Living Dead?
The Living Dead?
No?
Zeds.
Good guess. Now, this is, again, remember, Night of the Living Dead is George Romero's movie that was sort of the birth of the modern idea of the zombie.
Are they just called undead? Or dead, maybe?
Here's some options. Zombies, ghouls, or them.
I want to say them.
Them.
Zombies has got to be too obvious. It's got to be them.
Or ghoul. I think ghouls.
It is ghouls,
Oh.
actually. And zombies wasn't too obvious because no one had thought of zombies yet. The original word zombie comes from voodoo culture, by the way. It's part of a voodoo thing to like bring a body back to life as a servant. This was the first time they were seen as like monsters, though. It was in Night of the Living Dead. Okay, how about the movie Warm Bodies?
Oh
which everyone
shit!
saw?
I am the only, and also I read the book. I'm the only Warm Bodies stan.
Wow,
There is a book, and it's the same as World War Z. It is very fucking good. It's not like it's not anything like the movie. Essentially,
Warm Bodies is maybe the only movie where I've ever walked out and said, I have no thoughts on this film that I just saw.
it is a completely devoid of meaning film. It leaves you empty.
Yes.
But the book.
And it came out on Valentine's Day, and I went with my then girlfriend.
Oh,
and we saw it, and we're like, okay, we have nothing to speak about with this movie. It's not like it was bad. I don't want to talk about it. I just have nothing to say.
I would really recommend the book if anyone's interested in the zombie genre. It gets very philosophical. He's because he's essentially just a human trapped in like this rotting body. So it's just the struggles of that, basically.
Do you remember what the zombies were called? I'll give you some options here. Lovers,
Bonies, I'm going to go with.
huggers, or bonies.
I'm gonna say bonies. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with
Yeah,
huggers.
It's bonies,
Hey.
dude. Love those bonies. Because of the bones, right?
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong. Just say zombies.
idea.
Okay, I'll get a few more. How about the Maze Runner?
I forgot about that. Don't remind me of that.
I loved those.
I'm thinking of the
I
films,
really, really enjoyed
unfortunately.
them. Yeah, films.
Try,
not so
try being
good
a Resident
again.
Evil
How
fan
does that
and
keep
knowing there's a
happening?
series of movies based on it.
Oh no!
Nobody does.
I specifically didn't want to talk about the movies. Okay, here are your options: Cranks, Rancids, Flatheads.
I think they're cranks, aren't they?
I'm going to say Rancids, just to
Go
make sure we've got
Flatheads.
all of them.
Okay. Got your bases covered. They are
Hey,
cranks.
I know my. I'm a true maze runner.
I came up with Flatheads, and I felt good about that. That sounds real. Okay. So in Naruto there are zombies, interestingly, but to make it a little more fun, I've found the direct translation for what they're called from Japanese, so it doesn't sound very good. So here are some options for you: undead puppets, dead walkers, or unseen servants.
Sounds like the one.
Unseen servants.
Unseen
That sounds
servants,
like
yeah.
No, it's undead puppets. Much less exciting. Lame. In the English version, they're just called zombies, so
Thank God.
that's boring. How about Z Nation?
Oh, I've actually watched that.
Oh, okay. Do you know what they're called?
No.
Okay.
So, what did you think of Z Nation, Kyle?
Yeah.
It's very out there. It's a very weird series.
Not very memorable,
but
apparently.
like it doesn't take itself too seriously, so it's
Oh,
mean,
okay.
it's pretty good, but it got old after a little while.
Okay. So are they called talkers, Z's, or puppies?
I think
I'll
they're
say-
just Z's.
I'm going to say puppies.
Although I could be wrong.
I'll go with the other one.
No. Okay. Luke, you got good instincts today. They are puppies.
I paid extreme attention to that show, if you can't tell.
All right, got a few more here. The Forest of Hands and Teeth. I don't know if anyone's read
Never
that.
heard of it.
It's a fairly popular YA novel series. I've not read it, but I definitely know of it. It's pretty big. But all right, I'll give you some options: Mudo, Jingashi, or Necrotics.
Jingashi.
Necrotic
guess.
sounds cool.
Necrotics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mudo. Yeah, worst one. By the way, everything I've read here is according to Zombiepedia a real name for a zombie in some form of fiction.
Oh.
Yeah. So there is something where they're called necrotics, which is cool. All right, last one here. Of course, we had to end with The Walking Dead. Stinkers, Lame Brains, or The Wasted.
Wait, I thought they were called walkers. In the
Yeah.
Walking Dead.
They have many names, actually.
Yep.
In fact, they have 20 different names.
Oh,
in The
boy.
Walking
Say
Dead.
And
lame
not one of
brains.
them is zombie, right?
Nope, none of them are
Wait,
zombie.
did you say
no.
Lame Brains was one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
I did.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Guess.
Okay. Yeah, the trick of this one is that they're all real.
Hey, wonderful. Amazing lore, guys.
Good lore. Good lore. Oh, you call them lame brains? We call them face mouths over in this tribe. God. All right. So I'm gonna say we all lost
Yeah.
that game.
Nothing was
All of
nothing
us,
was
including
gamed.
me.
It was the
Nothing-
warm bodies of
nothing was-
games.
This is I've said that so many times. This is the warm bodies of video games.
We'll have to start inserting that in GameLuster reviews and just not drawing attention to it. Just
Yeah,
acting
yeah.
like it's something everyone should understand.
Everyone would say, yeah, bear down for midterms.
Nice.
Okay,
Great
so
reference.
yeah. Oh, thank you. So let's wrap up. Thank you to Todd Howard for buying Shinji Mikami and doing the what is it, the Evil Within?
Evil Within, yeah. I was gonna.
Yeah,
At first, I thought you were joking. I was like, oh wait, no, he owns. They bought Tango, or whiskey or
Yeah.
whatever it was. Tango GameWorks.
Tango Gameworks, yeah. So Shinji Mikami, by the way, did leave Capcom in the late 2000s and formed Tango Gameworks as an independent studio, and they were bought by Bethesda like 3 months after they were formed.
Yeah,
I have
a friend who absolutely raves about the Evil Within 2 and tells me I should play it all the time.
Oh yeah, I've heard those games are like, you know, good. Like if you like Resident
The
Evil.
first
like,
one's like I started playing and couldn't get into it, but I hear it. I know a lot of people that go nuts for the second one and say it's really good.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for joining us. Luke, what are you doing right now? What you got?
I'm just looking at Twitter or otherwise.
No, I meant like, do you want to plug anything?
My Yakuza video's nearly done. I've just got it. Premiere's being an asshole and not exporting it properly.
Okay, what was it? Is it Yakuza 0?
Yakuza 0 I'm
about?
talking about. And then,
Okay.
hopefully...
Is that a spoiler video?
I'm trying to keep it spoiler free. Because I'm trying
Okay.
to convince you people they should go play that game because it's amazing.
Yeah, I actually do own that game. I have not opened it
should
yet,
play
but
it.
I since I saw Like a Dragon though, I've been like really wanting to play that one, so I'm kind of like holding off until that comes out for PS5, and I'm gonna grab it.
You should definitely play Yakuza 0. It's absolutely
Yeah,
amazing
I'll probably
game.
get to 0 afterwards. Okay. Kyle, do you have any plugs today?
I don't have any plugs, but I do have a little fun fact that brings everything around full circle. Earlier we were talking about the highest selling GameCube game made by a different publisher besides Nintendo. It's actually Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Nice! Nice! Sonic fans stay winning! Yes!
Yes.
We don't miss.
Sega needed to die so that
That-
Sonic.
that's-
could
We
win.
don't
It's
miss.
the one where Eggman pisses on the moon, right?
Yes, that one!
Yeah, that's
It's that
correct.
one!
That's my only
He
knowledge
just,
of that film.
Eggman literally destroys the moon as a warning, and he's like, "I'll do it to Earth too."
That was almost my pick for like the craziest scientist plan, just literally pissing on the moon.
So my only experience with Sonic is that channel that's done all the dubs over them.
Oh god, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, I actually didn't know about them until this week. Somebody sent me this and was like, "Oh, I know."
Oh
you
my
love
God, they're
this."
so
and I was
good.
like, I do. That was
They-
very.
they-
I knew that they were.
They did a Resident Evil 2 one as well that's really funny.
Oh, we're plugging that.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. I'll yeah, that's a good plug. Okay, Ree, what do you have?
I just put the first episode of my pub encounter Let's Play on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It is a pub-based dating simulator where you get to choose from an amazing selection of creepy middle-aged men. So please check that out. It's a
very accurate simulation of most English pubs.
True.
I did watch a little bit of that so far. I really just kind of wanted to skip to the part where Kate found the Arden impersonator.
Oh god, yeah, I've gone with the Arden impersonator. We apparently
If you
we
ever
have.
show up to a Weatherspoons UK in the middle of the day, there's always
Oh
just
god,
old men
no!
scattered around the place
It's the
drinking by themselves.
worst. It's the worst. Yeah, you know, a piece of advice, ladies: do not go to a Weatherspoons before 8 o'clock.
Or after 8 o'clock.
Just don't go into a Weatherspoons.
Just don't go there alone,
Yeah.
because there's just creepy old men like all drinking by themselves.
It's oh god, it's so uncomfortable. Yeah, that is the pub encounter experience.
Do we don't really have like pubs here, I don't think. Like
Yep,
I don't think we
there's
have them
bars.
in the same sense. I mean, we have bars, yeah, like I don't know. It'd be hard to I think it'd be hard to track down a bar that isn't also like a restaurant, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of the English pub encounter. Well, I don't like it. But
I was gonna say it's not a good thing, man. It's weird.
Okay. Yeah, and I am currently working on my top 15 indie video games coming up that you've never heard of. I know exactly all the things you've experienced, the viewer, and I know exactly what
It
you
doesn't
haven't heard
surprise
of, and here
me.
it is. And then I also have my first episode of my Steam Backlog Diaries for the month of January coming out. I'm going to actually be doing the last stream of that, I think, tonight. It's Saturday right now, so... Yeah, I think tonight I'm going to be doing one more stream for my 6th game to go through. And, hey, maybe it'll be Resident Evil 4.
I mean, you should definitely play that game. It's very good. It's a very important part of third-person shooting history.
Now, I will say that I did try to play Resident Evil 4 on my PlayStation before, and I legitimately threw up. The camera and motion controls maybe don't, like, work so good anymore. And I've never gotten sick from, like, I've never gotten that sick from another video game before, but, like, that, and I loved the game, actually. I was very invested in, like, the whole Las Plagas thing, and, like, I even made a whole D&D quest for it in my game. Because it was so interesting, but like I legitimately like threw up.
That could be
like,
fun on stream.
Yeah. I think the reason I bought it I got on PC is because I think there are some mods I can use to like change the camera and control scheme a little, and maybe I can actually play the game. So yeah, I'm excited for that because I know everyone says how good it is, and I believe you.
It's a little rusty. Obviously, it hasn't aged perfectly, but I think that game is still really fun. I could totally just play that game through. I don't know, I've played it through, I like it 100 times on almost every different platform.
Damn. Yeah, so I'm there's actually a first-person patch that apparently like completely gets rid of like the motion sickness that a lot of people feel from it. So I might give that a go too. Okay, so yeah, you can find us on Twitter at GameBustersPod. Please tweet at us, tweetos. I'm sorry, I hope that wasn't an offensive term.
You're going to turn out it's some kind of slur to
It's
some
gonna
very
definitely be a racial
specific,
slur.
vague, not well-known group of people.
Yeah, so, yeah, you can find us on Twitter. Yeah, hit us up with any suggestions for any games you want us to cover.
Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, we'll probably... Resident Evil's looking so hot right now, we'll probably just be back on RE2 next week anyway, so
I'm game.
fuck it.
I'm totally down.
Yeah, so... Yeah, and you can find all of our stuff at GameLuster.com and YouTube.com/GameLuster. We have lots of cool videos and articles and content there. I just saw that on our YouTube channel we have a new banner, and it says we have like podcasts and videos and other stuff.
You're welcome. I spent a whole half an hour on that.
I did not know. As a head of video at this website, I did not know that.
I mentioned it in the editor's thing once. That's all. That's all you need.
I haven't seen it yet, but I bet it's terrible and it needs changing.
Struggle?
You know, Mario Kart Wii's getting plastered all over it.
Oh, absolutely not.
You can't. You're just gonna put a glossy JPEG of the Mario Kart Wii box art just on the side.
And then it's stretched out all the way across the top of the banner.
Crisp 2008 quality.
320p. Okay. Great. So thank you guys for joining us. Let's see. I'm wanting to like sort of. I know we've been having fun with like whoever wins the thing like gets to do the outro. I want us to like come up with like a catchphrase that we can like say at the end like every time to kind of give it a sort of sense of consistency. Does anyone have any ideas they want to put
Double
in the
Dash
Resident
is the
Evil
best
hat?
Mario Kart.
Imagine wanting consistency.
That doesn't
in this podcast.
It doesn't seem like that would provide consistency.
Yeah, but it would annoy me.
I guess it would.
That's all I need.
Yeah. Kyle, do you have any suggestions?
No.
Okay, everybody. No, stop. Actually, no. I have an idea. Everybody, open up your phone right now. Go to your like text messages or whatever, and look at the last message you sent to somebody, and just read that.
Oh god, mine's topical.
All right, what's yours?
Hey, started late, going to be about 20 minutes. That was me to my dad about dinner. And I sent that.
That's
I sent that 10 past 8. So
That's pretty consistent.
I am very late for dinner.
Mine was to Kyle, and it says jump in the Discord.
Mine was to my fiance about being on the podcast, and I said, yeah, coming in clutch.
Okay, hold on. All right, I'll give it a little test run here. All right, thank you guys for joining us here at GameBusters. Oh wait, sorry, Luke.
Mine's not even that good now.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, no. Tell me now.
It was a text to my dad saying, "Mom wants some flour as well."
Okay.
The best catchphrase.
Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna close it like this.
Remember
then.
to get some flour.
Remember to pick up some flour for your dad because you are late to dinner. Coming in clutch. It's GameBusters.
Nailed it. There's going to be so many people that are both terrified and have an erection while they're playing Rhythm of the Lake.
Only way I know how.